So we've had this question asked, what would happen if you put the 2022 rookies and the 2023 rookies in a tier ranking list? Just
Wow.
those two classes. So that's what we're going to do today. I have to be honest, this was incredibly hard for me. I'm not even so certain I might not have missed names. I spent a couple of hours trying to make sure I felt really good about my list. But
Right.
Badaki and I are going to go back and forth. We're going to talk about this and see where these two classes have strengths and maybe where their weaknesses could be. We're going to do 6 tiers from tier 6 to 1. Do us a massive favor. Drop a like. Easy way to support the show.
Huge love.
Subscribe if you like Dynasty football content week because we got plenty of it. I mean,
Got a lot.
we are pumping out so much content for you guys.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
comment down below, who is a player in 2022's class that you expect to have a revival here or a breakout in 2023? So,
Amen.
let's start from tier 6. I have about 35 players here ranked. I mean, we could have gone so deep. We could have ranked 60 plus players. I tried to keep it to around 30, 35. I have 35 players in total, Badaki.
I have 36.
Okay,
I just
so you have
counted.
36.
I
I
counted
could have
really
added
fast.
more players. I just wanted to try and keep this list somewhat reasonable.
No, for sure. I'm there with you.
Let's start in tier 6.
Okay.
Okay, and let's see. I have no idea if we're going to be on the same page with this list. I have no idea, genuinely. So I got Trey McBride in this tier 6.
Trigger Trey. Yeah, I got Trigger Trey in here.
Okay, good. I mean,
He's there.
for me, I've brought him as a buy low. I know you agree. We both like Trey McBride. He could be stepping into a bigger role this year, changing of the guard in Arizona. They want to get younger. They're sending D-Hop away. Ertz is coming off that ACL, which is going to be a little bit more difficult for a tight end at his age. Look
Correct.
at what happened to Logan Thomas. He's a little bit older than Logan Thomas. So I think this could be a good breakout year for Trey McBride. We'd like him. I have James Cook in this tier.
I also have James Cook in this tier.
Perfect, because I was worried about that one. I know you like some James.
No, I like James Cook, but I guess the way I tiered it, hopefully, at the moment it feels like it's similar, but hopefully it's similar to the way I would have done it.
We like James Cook. I have just, it's always been my stance, even since last year. I don't think he's a workhorse. I just think he's a rotational guy.
Fair.
And we'll see what happens in the draft this year if they commit to him or not. Good player, but I don't think he's a RB1. All right, I also have Rashee Rice out of SMU in this tier.
Yes, I have him as well.
Player that we like, bully in the open field. I just think that he's a dynamic player that could really make an impact somewhere.
Yeah.
I also have
agreed.
Rashad White from the Tampa Bay Bucks.
I have Rashad as well in there.
Okay, we like Rashad, but again, another one of those players where we're not so certain that these guys are just guaranteed roles going into the next season, right?
Correct. And I think this is why, I don't know about you, but I have a lot more wide receivers than running backs just based off the running back market going into 2023. So I've kind of invested and tiered more of those guys than I normally would have.
And I think that also probably speaks more to our overall feeling of how to build a dynasty team, which is
that as well.
Stack on these wide receivers that we love with that longevity. All right, I also have another tight end in Greg Dulcich in this tier.
Yeah.
We're big fans of Greg, but we don't play in a tight end premium league, so it's not we can value him this high. I think this is probably the first time we might disagree, Badaki.
Okay.
I have Joshua Downs in
Yes.
tier 6. I know you're higher on Josh Downs than me. I have other guys like Xavier Hutchinson. I have other guys like Zay Flowers, ahead of him,
Like over
Keyshawn
him.
Butte.
Nah, for sure.
I like Downs. There's just a lot of wide receivers that I like, and we'll see landing spot and draft capital, what the NFL thinks. But this is where I have him. What tier did you have him in?
I have him in tier 5. I have him one tier higher.
Okay, and I'm assuming you're going to want to advocate him in tier 5. So
Yeah. I guess we can just wait
I'll
and
pop
see.
him in there.
Wait and see what that looks like.
We'll fight battles in different areas. I also have Devin A-Chain in this tier 6.
Okay. I don't have him in any tier.
You don't have him ranked? Okay,
Yeah, I
so
don't have him
that's
ranked.
probably somewhere where we can meet in the middle there. Devin A-Chain, to me, very intriguing player.
Yeah.
Someone commented on one of our videos, stop telling people to draft undersized running backs. They were like, you guys did the same things with James Cook last year. Rashad White. I'm like, I didn't like James Cook last year.
I like
because
James Cook.
he didn't have. Yeah, well, just speaking for myself, I didn't like James Cook last year as much as the others because I didn't see any elite trait. And when I look at A-Chain, I see multiple elite traits. Yes, he's massively undersized. I predict him to be like a satellite back, an X-factor player that you kind of get into the rotation. He's not going to ever be a 10, 15 carry game guy.
Yeah.
But if you can get him, let's say 8 to 12 touches a game, there is some elite traits with the speed, the stop-start ability, the lateral quickness, and he's a very good pass catcher as well. My ceiling for him, I think he can be an absolute elite third down receiver, satellite back. Like when I say elite, I mean one of the best. I'm not saying it will happen because the floor is much lower. The floor is like a player who is just completely irrelevant in fantasy football, but the ceiling is very intriguing to me because there are those elite traits. So I'll advocate for him in tier 6. And maybe we can pop him towards the end then if we see him a little bit differently.
Right.
Because we'll leave Downs at the end of 5.
I think there's going to be a guy that I don't have tiered whatsoever that you're going to want to have. So, I mean, just because of the way my rankings work out, he wasn't able to get tiered in this video. So.
Interesting. Well, we'll see who that is. I have Dameon Pierce.
Yep. I got Dameon Pierce as well.
So that would be cool because a lot of people asked us, we said all year last year, sell Dameon Pierce for a first-round pick. Sell Dameon Pierce for a first-round pick. You're going to see why compared to where we, rank him. And honestly, right now, this is going to be difficult to do because we don't know landing spots, competition, draft capital. But we know a lot about the 22 class, and we can feel comfortable about ranking them versus the upside of the 23 class.
Agreed.
And then I have one more player in this tier, and I wanted to put him a little bit higher, but I couldn't. I wanted to just be super realistic with myself. That is Xavier Hutchinson, my sleeper of the year, my darling, my guy that I love. I know you love him as well. I wanted to put him in the 5th tier, but with the other players in my tier 5, I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't manage my way into that. So
no, that's fair. That's fair.
That's the end of my tier 6. Did you have anyone else in this tier?
I technically have 1, 2, 3, 3 more players in this tier.
Oh wow, okay. Who are those?
And that is Dalton Kincaid, that is Parker Washington, and that is Zay Flowers. And this was the hard part here, was because I wanted to put these guys higher, but then when you put them in a group with my tier 5, when we get to that later, it's like, well, just didn't really make sense. So I have them in my tier 6. I don't know if you have any. I'm assuming you have Zay Flowers ranked because you are higher than him.
Yes. I have Zay Flowers ranked. Zay Flowers is actually in tier 5 for me.
Okay.
So why don't we meet in the middle? I'll put Kincaid and Parker just on the list, just so they're there in tier 6 with all these other guys.
Yep.
And I'll also go ahead and advocate for Zay Flowers in tier 5. So
yeah, that's
you're
fair.
going to advocate for Downs. I'll advocate for Flowers.
That's fair.
Honestly, it's funny because these two players, Zay Flowers and Josh Downs, are kind of similar build.
Size,
I mean, they're both like 5'10", 175 or so. And I just feel like when I watch Zay Flowers, there's this it factor to his game. And film, and mainly film, and analytics stands on its own, but film is very subjective. Like you can see something that someone else doesn't see.
For sure.
So that's where you see people have differences of opinion. But for Zay, I think the speed is a little bit different. I think the after catch ability is a little bit different. But Josh definitely has better hands. So we'll see what the NFL thinks of these two players. Yeah. But I really love what Zay could do after the catch in the NFL.
Yeah, completely agree.
And I know you're a big Josh Downs guy. Who did you comp him to?
That's a good question.
Tyler?
I think it was Tyler Lockett. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was Tyler Lockett.
Okay. And then just to quickly speak on the two players you mentioned, Dalton Kincaid. I love Dalton Kincaid. In a non-tight end premium league, though, I just couldn't put him in a tier. Just, it's hard to value those rookie tight ends.
For sure. The only reason
coming into the league.
The only reason why I even have Kincaid in there was because when I looked at the tight end tiers, or the tight ends that I had from the 2022 class, I was like, I kind of wanted to even it out, right?
Sure.
So
I get it.
I have technically 2 tight ends from 2022 and also 2 tight ends in 2023.
Okay. Fair,
so that was kind of my thought process when it came down to it. But yes, I do have Josh Downs comped as Tyler Lockett, a Brandon Cooks type of player.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about this tier 5. I have Michael Mayer in this tier 5.
Yeah, I have him there as well.
I really enjoyed watching Michael Mayer's film.
He's awesome,
he
man.
Feels like the complete tight end in this class. Now, there's guys like Kincaid who I think are better route runners and a little bit more sudden and quick after the catch.
Agreed.
But he is a complete guy who's probably going to start day one. Okay, this will get interesting. I have 3 running backs that I love in this class, in this tier, and I don't know where you have them. So that would be Sean Tucker.
Okay.
I have Sean Tucker in this tier. Do you also have Sean Tucker?
I do have Sean Tucker. I think we might have...
Okay.
Well, actually, we only have 2 running backs in this tier, so I think this is where we see differently.
I have Sean Tucker, I have Zach Evans, and I have Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah. So the person
So
that
you're telling me you don't have Zach Evans in this
I
tier?
don't have Zach Evans tiered whatsoever. Once again, I can't put him there on the list. If I go back to my rankings, trying to be true to my rankings, he is not on this list. I mean, someone even like Tank Bigsby is not on this list for me. Israel, Chase, Zach. If I can't put those guys on this list, I can't put Zach on this list. And at least from my perspective. But we can definitely have a conversation because I know you are higher. I know the community is either split. Some people are all in and some people are not.
I have him a top 40 asset in the last two classes. If you want to say I'm high on him, I have him as a top 40 asset.
He will definitely be top 40.
That is just so disrespectful.
This is 36.
To me. I genuinely don't understand how we have Sean Tucker here and not Zach Evans. But
fair.
Here we are. I have to advocate for him to, at minimum, be in tier 5. I struggle to understand how you don't have him ahead of some of these players, but here we are. We'll figure out. At the end of the day, you'll either be right and I'll be wrong, or I'll be wrong and you'll be right.
Vice versa. 100%.
Difference of opinions are welcome, but I have to advocate for him to at least be here. Like, I didn't know I'd have to advocate for Zach Evans to even be on the board.
Yeah,
but
no, for sure.
Here we are, polarizing prospect. You either love him or you don't like him. I'm kind of in the middle, though. I really like the player. I see the struggles with vision at times, but I think he's extremely explosive. And I'm excited to see what he does at the combine. I'm excited to see where he gets drafted in the NFL draft. I mean, I'll be honest. I just think it's ridiculous not to have him in this top 30, 40 list, but that's just me. I'm going to advocate for him here. I have to.
For sure. I mean, that's your guy. Go for it. I mean, we just see him differently, so.
Sure. Okay, next in tier 5, I have, which this might be, I think you're on the same page with me now about Will Levis. I have Will Levis here.
Yes, I do have Will Levis. I have both of these guys, Will Levis, and then I'm assuming you must have, I could be wrong, you must have Anthony Richardson in here as well.
I don't. I have Anthony Richardson
one
spot higher.
Okay, that's fair.
And it was difficult because really, let me just say it now. I mean, the conversation when I was looking at my rankings was between Kenny Pickett. It was these threes. When I'm
Kenny
ranking
Pickett,
my actual
100%.
real dynasty rankings, not just the rookies, it was Anthony Richardson, Kenny Pickett, and Will Levis. And for me, the way that went was Richardson, Pickett, Levis. And yeah, call me a hater of Will Levis, whatever. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this channel, so we don't need to get into it. But I do have Anthony Richardson in tier 4. So let's revisit that in 1 second.
Okay.
I also have one more player here, which is Kayshawn Booty.
Yeah, I got Booty as well.
Okay, we like Booty. We're not people who are going to devalue him because of off-field issues. I mean, I just think that's been really bad process in the past. He's a talented player. Could be one of the most talented players in the class. One of. So that's all I have in tier 5. I'm curious if you have anyone else here.
So I have Kenny Pickett here, and I also have George Pickens here.
Okay, so I have Kenny Pickett and George Pickens in the next tier.
Okay.
I've been someone who's advocated for George Pickens since this time last year. I mean, he was my wide receiver 2 pre-draft. NFL draft didn't go exactly the way I wanted it to. Kind of fell in my rankings, but still a player that I love as far as talent goes. And this whole narrative where George Pickens can't get open, save me your breath. Honestly, go look at reception perception and tell me that George Pickens can't get open, because that is just such a casual take. I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying it's what I hear.
Yeah, no, for sure. With the community and what they're saying.
What do we do with these 3 players then? Because you have them in tier 5. I have them in tier 4.
The only reason why... Okay, so let me give you my thought process on the quarterback. Because in my rankings, kind of like you said, I have Kenny Pickett, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, all in the same tier. If you have our rankings, you can kind of go look at that maybe as you're watching the video. And you can kind of see that I have Kenny Pickett 15, and then Anthony Richardson and Will Levis just a little bit lower. They're all in the same tier. I think it all depends on draft capital. And like we said when we started the video, we're actually not sure what's going to happen. So I'm only tiering basing off the talent that I've seen and what I know. So that's why I can't have a tier break. I think I actually have Anthony. I have Kenny Pickett first, Anthony Richardson second, and then Will Levis third in the tier if I was building it myself.
Okay.
And I think...
So we see that differently too.
Yeah. So it's just so many different perspectives, but I think with George Pickens, I'm happy to put him up 1 tier.
The person I wanted to advocate really was because I have Pickens, and so I have George Pickens behind both Anthony Richardson and Pickett. So I would have Pickens behind them as much as I love them.
I have him as
the
well.
super flex position, I feel as if I would put more value on the upside of those quarterbacks as much as I love Pickens.
That's fair.
So
I'm there with you.
I'm happy to
have
meet
him
you
at the
there
end.
and drop Pickens to tier 5.
Mm-hmm.
Because that feels actually pretty respectable when you look at the other talents here.
Yeah, and that's
Probably
what I
not
was
first
going
round
with.
guys, but outside of Will Levis, but guys who, and Michael Mayer, but guys who could have real value.
100%. That's exactly
I don't know.
where I'm at in that perspective. You know, it's just,
Are we happy to leave these quarterbacks in tier 4?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to leave it there.
Okay, and again, draft capital landing spot for these
It's gonna be
quarterbacks
huge.
going to be very important.
Yeah.
We have to trust NFL GMs over ourselves when it comes to quarterbacks, unless you just have a really strong conviction about a player.
For sure.
And you just don't want any part of him.
Mm-hmm.
This will get interesting because tier 4 was my biggest tier. We've
Okay.
already lost Pickens from it, so it'll become a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to manage. So why don't we just start from the back? I have Jahan Dotson in this tier.
I have Jahan in here.
Okay, I have Jordan Addison.
I have Jordan Addison in here. I'm with you there.
2 players that we really like.
Yep.
I wouldn't say similar play because I think Dotson's
Dotson.
a little bit more electric after the
Yeah,
catch.
exactly. He just brings so much.
Better receiver as well as far as with his hands,
Mhm.
more consistent with his hands, great hands. Addison, incredible route runner, lethal route runner, but gets bullied and inconsistent hands. We love him as a wide receiver too, like an elite wide receiver too in the NFL.
Exactly.
So next for me would be Christian Watson.
Yeah, I have Christian Watson in the tier.
We like Christian Watson.
Yep.
Excited about what his future holds, regardless of quarterback, right?
Yep.
We like Jordan Love here on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is. I know this is where it's gonna fall off.
Okay. Okay.
I have Quentin Johnston in this tier 4.
Sure. Okay. Well,
I
don't
find it
have him in
difficult
here.
personally to rank him any higher than some of these other guys. Like, let me just be 100% honest as I go here. I've got Drake London here.
Yeah, I'm there with
I've
you.
got Treylon Burks here.
Uh-huh.
I've got Jameson Williams here. So these are 3 players that I personally prefer over Quentin Johnston based off of pre-combine scouting grades
For sure.
and also what I know about these 2022 players. So this is where it gets difficult for me with Quentin Johnston because I like the body, I like the frame, the hands really worry me. It can be taught, but I'm not so sure that Quentin is even a better prospect or a better dynasty asset than a guy like Christian Watson.
For sure.
I definitely feel like I'm taking London, Burks, and Jameson Williams over him. So that's where I'm left in at this place where I'm like, what do I do here? Because I know he's your 1. You probably don't have him in this tier.
No,
You're 1 in this class.
I don't have him in this tier, and that is an area that I'm struggling with in my rankings as a whole. Is those 3 guys. Really just the 2. When I say 3, I mean Quentin, Drake, Jameson Williams. I don't know how to tier them, but with the talent that I've seen, from me, in my perspective, with Quentin, I think he is 1 step in the next tier. I love Drake London. I love Jameson Williams. And we've seen what they can do on a team. I'm just excited to see. And I had to follow my ranking still in this perspective because I didn't want to.
Sure, you can't change.
Yeah, I didn't want to change it. And I've been trying. I mean, like, maybe I was like, last night I was like, maybe I need to change it. Maybe I need to switch things around. But I'm staying true to my tier. I'm staying true to my rankings, but I have Quentin higher, so I want to advocate for him. But I like Drake London, Jameson Williams. I do have Christian Watson in this tier as well. So I have everyone that you have here besides 1 player. I don't know if he is going to be on this tier.
Who else do you have in tier 4? We'll talk about.
I have
Quentin.
Jameer Gibbs in this tier.
I have Jameer Gibbs in the next tier. So why don't we meet in the middle?
Sure.
And
so we could
let's just put both of these guys in tier 3 to make each other happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could debate until the cows come home. You guys have seen.
Sure.
We literally have a video about who's the wide receiver 1 in this class, JSN or Quentin Johnston. That's on our channel if you want to go watch that. But I just from my perspective, if someone today was to say, "Hey, I'll give you Jameson Williams, Treylon Burks, Drake London for Quentin right now," not knowing where he's going to land, not knowing how the combine's going to go,
tough.
I feel like I'm locking that in.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely accept that right now. So that's where it's tough for me because I'm like, I really like those 3 wide receiver prospects. And I was even struggling to figure out would I rather have Christian Watson or Quentin Johnston right now, you know, because
right.
similar body types, I would say. I mean, different players. Watson feels like the ceiling is ridiculous. You could say the same for Quentin. So that's where I was just struggling, but I'm happy to
No,
leave
that's
him in
fine.
here in tier 3 and advocate for Gibbs.
Yeah.
But who was your comp for Quentin Johnston?
Quentin,
Who was your pro comp?
yeah, so my pro comp for Quentin, I mean, these are pretty outrageous, but super high ceiling. The body wise and frame was Devontae Adams. I like what he can do. I think the speed, the twitchiness, the hands, the after the catch ability is all there. Yes, that's high, super high praise. But I think that's the thing. You know, I have a super high comp and a super low floor in Kevin White, where we've seen how that person can bust, right? How that person can be drafted with such high draft capital and then literally become nothing. So he can either be the superstar in a Devontae Adams type role, maybe a DeAndre Hopkins type role, or a Kevin White type player where he is literally nothing. So I can see the boom bust potential, but I think the talent overall, I'm just believing in the talent, believing in that he's going to change. I'm hoping stuff, and that's something that I'm going against the grain, hoping that he will change the mold and the thought process of a guy his size, his caliber, you know?
Yeah. I think something that I love about Quentin is the yards after the catch, because you see a big body, 6'4", 215, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's much taller than guys like Adams, than guys like Hopkins, but you see like the mold as far as the X alpha.
100%.
I can agree after the catch. I see some similarities with Devontae Adams. To be fair, guys, Devontae Adams was not an elite route runner entering the NFL. It took him a while to really develop in that area, and you can see good fundamentals as a route runner for Quentin.
Yeah.
I really think the reason Quentin is being underlooked, one, after the catch. I think he was like top 8 in yards after catch per reception this year. And then 2, just the pure athleticism of this athlete. Now, yes, he has definitely some drop issues, needs to work on the body catches, but intriguing prospect, no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm taking a shot on some of those guys I love a little bit more, but we're gonna meet in the middle here. I'll have Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, I see a lot of DeAndre Swift, a lot of Aaron Jones. Really excited about where his landing spot could be. And I don't want to say this name because people might overreact, but I see like 5% shades of a Jamal Charles. Like similar size players, ridiculous type speed, ridiculous type make a man miss. So we'll leave those two guys in there. Let's go on to the rest of tier 3.
For sure.
I have another running back here in Ken Walker.
Yeah, I have him in there as well. I only have 3 other people in this tier, by the way.
Same. I have Chris Olave.
Yeah.
I have Garrett Wilson.
Okay, I don't have Garrett Wilson in this tier.
We'll have to talk about that. And I have Jackson Smith and Jigba.
That's what I have. So I have Quentin, JSN, Olave, and Kenneth Walker in this tier.
Okay, so you just don't have
Garrett Wilson.
You have Garrett Wilson one spot higher.
Higher, correct.
Yeah, no, that's intriguing. You know, for me, I can understand why most people would have JSN behind these two players at the moment. And he, for me, has the flexibility to go ahead of these guys or right behind them in my rankings. Like, I'm not sure exactly where to put him just yet. All I'm trusting right now is my scouting grades. And I had a higher scouting grade for Jackson Smith and Jigba than I had for Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave at this time. So it's really difficult to rank those 3 because we love those 3 wide receivers. You know, I was a huge Olave last year. You were a huge Wilson guy. They both showed obvious signs of success in the NFL. I find it difficult to put Wilson in a tier different to Olave, though. That's where I can't wrap my head around that because, I mean, where do you have Olave ranked in your rankings compared to Wilson? I have them back to back, 6 and 7.
In my rookie
your
rankings,
regular dynasty rankings.
My regular dynasty rankings. Yeah, Garrett Wilson for me is my RB7. And then there's a person. Chris Olave is my 9. So there's a.
Is your what? Sorry, you cut out.
Garrett Wilson's my 7, Chris Olave is my 9. So there's one gap there, but I think that's
hard to like justify an entire tier break between them though.
For sure. I understand that. And I just think that when I think of, like you were talking about earlier, JSN and how he can be flexible in between, you were saying he can kind of be fluid in between Wilson and Olave. I don't think he can be fluid in between Wilson. I think he can definitely step ahead of Olave. In my opinion.
Okay, so why don't we meet in the middle then, and I'll put Wilson at the beginning of this tier.
Sure, because that's
I guess just fundamentally, I have a real struggle putting Wilson in a different tier entirely to Olave. Do you know what I mean? Like I get that.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, Wilson, I think he is. Well, I mean, coming into last year, I was significantly higher. He was my wide receiver 1 coming into the rookie draft, and we expected so much from him, and we kind of saw that, and we see him going in as a top 7, top 6, depending on some people, wide receiver. So I see that. I can definitely see that.
I do have Wilson one spot ahead of Olave in my rankings. I have Wilson as my wide receiver 6. I have Olave as my 7. But at the same time, I just don't think they're in different tiers. I will give Wilson his props. Absolutely. He looks to be a very special receiver in the NFL. But same for Olave. I mean, if you look at their opportunities and their production this year, I think Olave played less games. I think he had very similar production. If I'm not, I could be mistaken there. Make me right. But I mean, I don't think you could say Olave had a better situation. I don't think he has a worse situation. I think it was very similar. Like the quarterback play was really subpar for both of those teams.
For sure.
So anyway, I'm happy to put Wilson at the top. I just can't justify different tier for those 2 players because then I would have to advocate for Olave and JSN in the next tier, and it would just get messy.
Yeah, I'm happy to keep both of those guys in the same tier as long as Wilson is first.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm happy with that as well.
Yeah, honestly, these 3 players will be really fun to watch in the NFL. Olave, JSN, and Wilson. And we'll see. I mean, year 2 solidifies a lot of things. All right. In my tier 2, I have 3 players.
Yeah, I have 4, but yes, I have the 3 players. I'm assuming.
Okay, so you would have Wilson there as well.
Yeah, I would have Wilson. I'm assuming you have.
I got Breece Hall.
Yeah, I have Breece. And then I got the quarterbacks.
Same. Okay. Wow. I was worried we might have to manage our way through that, but that works really well. I got Breece and I got the 2 quarterbacks. I'm thinking about it today. If I were to go back last year, even with everything I know about Breece Hall, if I knew there was an injury and I knew he could be one of the best running backs in the NFL, I still might take a shot on these quarterbacks in Superflex.
Yeah.
And that's where ultimately ended up for me putting them in right ahead of him, but in the same tier. Because I think if they were in the same class, you make the conversation. Let's say all these classes are together. Let's just go ahead and be realistic. Let's be honest. Bijan's at the 101.
That's it.
For me, if both these classes are together, I'm still taking Bijan 101.
Yeah.
And then I start to have the conversation at the 102. Because there's a lot of different ways we can go here at the 102. You can go one of these quarterbacks. You can go Breece Hall. You can maybe even advocate for one of these wide receivers if you want to. But
gosh,
that was kind of my thought process.
Imagine if all these people were in the same draft, like you're getting like Christian Watson in the middle of the second. You're getting Keyshawn Butte in the third. I mean, that's what it feels like potentially. Maybe not.
Yeah, you're getting mid-second. Yeah.
Like, that's wild.
So something that I wanted to do is I just wanted to count. So we put our top 30, and keep in mind, this was very difficult, guys. Yeah. How much time do we have left?
We have 2 minutes left.
Okay, I just wanted to quickly count and see what percentage of players are from each class. So, Bijan, let me just count real quick, and you talk about something.
I'll talk about something. Yeah, so as Zach's doing that, let us know what you think. Obviously, as we're in this little limbo area, what's crazy is that there's so much talent in both of these classes, and it's going to be so hard to really navigate what to do because, yeah, if like Zach was saying earlier, if all these guys are in the same class, I think you can definitely have an argument to taking Breece Hall, knowing the context of what was going to happen over some of these quarterbacks if you really needed somebody. Like that is wild to think about that. 2 running backs could have went 101 and then 102.
So I have some information.
We have under 30 seconds.
Okay, 54% of these players were from the 23 class. Just want to throw that out there. 54% of the players were from the 23 class. Just thought that was interesting. Pretty well. I think there's more depth in 23 is what I'm saying. Overall depth.
Right, for sure.
Less star power. Like the video, subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one. All love.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLandFam.